Welcome, everybody, to the Build a Vibrant Culture podcast. My name is Nicole Greer, and they call me the Vibrant Coach. And I am here with not only another vibrant guest, but somebody I just totally adore and love. We have been colleagues, partners in crime, presidents, and membership chairs of the NSA Carolinas, and 100 different things together. And I'm so proud today to have you meet up with Nanci Appleman-Vassil. So let me tell you all about her. She is a highly sought after certified speaking professional, or CSP. She's an accomplished business professional with more than 25 years of experience in training, organization development, corporate consulting, and focus on coaching and developing managers and building high performing teams. She is the founder and CEO of APLS Group, an organization that specializes in facilitating individuals, groups, and organizations toward better solutions for increased effectiveness. She's known for her dynamic style that touches hearts, engages minds, and gets an audience smiling. Nanci infuses her presentations with real life examples that are relatable to the audience and brings teams to a new level of understanding. From keynotes to webinars to workshops and everything in between, Nanci will get you excited about discovering, learning, transforming your behavior to increase your influence in the workplace. As part of her commitment to helping others increase their confidence and competence, Nanci devotes her off work times to supporting nonprofits and aspiring entrepreneurs. Nanci, I'm so glad you're here.
I am so grateful to be here as well, Nicole. And what a hello.
I
Thank you.
mean, it's all true, everything I said, people. I mean, call Nanci immediately. Okay, that's
Thank
Nanci
you.
with an I. And
That's exactly right.
that's right. Yeah. So why did your mother put an I on there? Tell us the I
So,
versus the Y.
so my mother did not do that.
Oh.
Okay. So here's the story. The story is that when I turned 16, there were so many Nancy's around that I just was like, I didn't like my name anymore. And then I was dating this guy
Uh-oh.
who, yes, that's the story. I was
Whenever
dating.
somebody says I was dating this guy, we're in trouble. Go ahead.
So, and he said to me, why don't you just change the spelling, make yourself a little more unique? And I was like, oh, so it was a short-lived relationship, but that's what I got out of it. And I was grateful. So yes. So my mother was never thrilled about the I. My father was confused about it, but he was like, he could do it. My mother was like, but I named you Nancy with a Y. And I said, yeah, like 1,000 other Nancys that were born around the same time. So,
Right, right. That's so good. I love it. Okay, and if you know Nancy, she does want to be unique and she does stand out in the crowd, that is for sure. And if you listen to her bio, she and I absolutely love this work of helping people build cultures. And I like to say, kind of help people get out of their own way, and
yes.
learn to lead in a powerful way. And you've been shaping cultures for 25 years. And when you walk into an organization today, I bet you can pick up a vibe. I know I can. And what's the very first signal that tells you, yep, this culture is either thriving, we're going to have a ball today, or I'm in trouble. It's going to be a struggle.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love how you say that because it's very true. The first thing that I feel when I walk in is what's the energy? Like,
Yeah.
is there a lightness about the environment, or is it that people are like really stiff? So that's when I walk into the building. When I walk into the facility where I'm going to be facilitating, it's how people come in. It's their body language, which is so powerful if you really pay attention to it. So the person sits down with, a book of some, and slams it down, and it's like, okay, I have a prisoner today. And I'll say to teams, especially when I feel that, I'll say, how many of you are prisoners? This is mandatory. You have to come, or
Right,
you're
you're
not
being
going to
held
have a job.
hostage.
Right, exactly. How many of you, this is like a vacation because you're like tired of what you're doing? And then third, how many learners do I have? So then I know exactly. And it kind of sets the environment to say, okay, folks, like this is our space. Let's do something different than what might be happening outside of there.
Yeah,
And I'm very fortunate, just like you are. I have some clients that I've had for 20
that's
years.
right.
And every time I walk in there, the culture is very vibrant. And that's why, and that organization still believes in learning and development. and they see it as a plus, not as a have to in order to maintain.
Yeah, yeah. And
Mhm.
that's where vibrant comes from. It's the light bulb, the proverbial light bulb that
Yes.
goes off over top of people's heads. And to
Mhm.
me, energy is everything, you know?
Yes.
Absolutely
Yes.
everything. Okay, so
Absolutely.
we didn't talk in your bio about your backgrounds. Let's talk
Mhm.
about your background because you've got a rich history of things you've done. So take us back to the early days at R.H. Donnelly. What did they do? What did they make?
So they were, I should say, because they've been absorbed, but they were the sales, marketing, and publishers of the Yellow Pages.
Isn't that
So we're
fantastic?
yeah, so that's what we're talking about before the year 2000.
Yeah.
I was there from 95 to 2000, and the vendor manager sat me down. He wanted me to understand like about their supplies and about how they go about making the Yellow Pages. So he gives me the example of Las Vegas. He says, "We print a book twice a year." He said, "Imagine two Olympic sized pools of ink and 3 miles of a train of paper.
Mm.
That is to print one." Now, we're talking 30 years ago that I was working there. I
Hmm.
still remember that story because it was so vibrant,
Hmm.
describing what that was all about. And why was it printed twice a year? Because there were that many businesses that opened and closed that
Oh, yeah.
didn't make it, or they were only seasonal, one might say. So I was hired to run their training and development for their non sales and marketing, but more their publishing center, which had moved to the Raleigh area. And it was a lot of fun. And the reason why was that they were going to self directed work teams.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And so I was hired to help them move that along. And so it was like a pilot for that part of the organization, whereas the rest of the organization was more very corporate, very structured, very policy, oh no, you can't do that type of thing. And here it was more let the teams figure it out, let the teams do the hiring, let the teams make the decisions, let the teams give each other feedback in terms of whether it was working or not working. And it was wonderful.
Mm.
But then after 5 years, they dissolved it and I was laid off.
Oh, no.
And yeah, along with about 1,000 other people in the organization. Because what was happening at that time that I think that the president, his name was Frank Noonan, who has passed away since, but he had the vision. He said, if we don't get into digital, we're going to die. And
So
that's
good.
exactly what happened for them. So they, eventually got bought out by, I think, Yellow Pages and then somebody else, and now they're part of a larger group. But all the people that work there are no longer there. They've all moved on to other places.
Yeah.
So, what I learned there was I learned about my own talents and skills and how, as my bio says, I'm very relatable to people. Like I
Yes.
go where they are. And so for me, it's interesting. One of our colleagues at NSA Carolinas even said this one day to me. He says, like, you're under the radar. He said, you're doing your thing, but you don't need that glitz and glamour. And I said, that's exactly me. I don't need to be the opening number. I just need to see that people are having an impact, right? Like
Yeah.
when you said vibrant, to me, the light bulb
Yeah.
is that aha moment where I get it. I get it. And then I start to change my behavior because I get it. But for all this time, I didn't get it. And I think that what I learned at Donnelly was how personable I am, how talented I am, how I understand learning and development, how I care about people, and that I was able to touch people in that way. That allowed me, because then I went into business for myself. NTL was the nonprofit that I worked at for 12 and a half years.
Wow.
I started as a temporary on a 1 day assignment for $4 an hour to collate team building notebooks. The 1 day became 2 days. And then after the 2 days, people really liked me there.
Right.
And so they were like, I'm ready to take my vacation. Can Nanci fill in for me? And so then I got a part time job there. And then I was in the finance department, which was definitely not my place, not because I don't know numbers, but because I had to type on these carbonless things. And if you made a mistake, you had to redo. So I
Oh,
was known as the redo woman because that was not working well. And then I was in the publications department, and then I got into programs and into their training programs. And the nice thing about the nonprofit was that a benefit of it, besides getting comp time, was that you could take their training. And so here I was, NTL was the premier organization of OD and interpersonal skills and feedback and listening and all that stuff. And all
oh,
the heavy hitters in the OD world were members. People like Marv Weisborg, Peter Vale, Ron Lippett, Joe Pot. I mean, just an enormous number of people that were part of that organization. And I got to learn from them.
that's
And so I
fantastic.
got certified in Myers Briggs. I got certified in OD. I got certified in Train the Trainer. And it was a win win. And then, there's a history here, right? I was laid off from them too. And so that's why I decided to go into business for myself. I didn't want a trifecta. And what I learned from there was when you speak truth, people try to knock you down. And so what happened is because I was responsible for 75% of the revenue that was supporting all the initiatives for the organization, that if I thought that somebody wasn't a good trainer, I wouldn't put them in. Well, people started complaining. Like, I've always done that program. Well, maybe you did, but now the competition is such and so forth. And so I had a executive director at that time. He was from Trinidad and Tobago. His name was Lennox Joseph.
Mm.
He used to say my name so brilliantly. He would always go, Nanci Appleman-Vassil. That's what he would say to me. And he would teach me. This is what he taught me. He said, in my country, when the trees grow fruit, he said, kids take stones and they try to hit the fruit and knock it down. He said, that's just like leadership too. He said, when you're in power and you're making all the decisions and you're doing all that, he said, what happens is like people are trying to knock you down. That's why they call me. That's why they send me a letter. That's why they, are bad mouthing you, those things. And I said, wow, I really learned that there as well, which
Yeah.
helped me when I went from NTL.
So the big lesson is like, when you become the leader, just anticipate that people are going to send you the letter, throw the stone, do the thing. But I think the thing is what makes a great culture as well is not only that people have energy, that they've got the light bulbs, they're lifelong learners, but they're willing to take the feedback, take the letter, take the stone, and keep
Yes.
on going because somebody's got to
Yeah.
lead the pack towards what we're going to do. So
Yeah.
you've worked with hundreds of professionals. What's
Mhm.
one leadership myth, right? Like when you're out here, you're doing your trainings and people throw something at you and you're like, "Oh, that thing again?" And you wish that you could officially retire it and never hear it again. What's the thing you hear out there?
So for me, what I hear all the time, the aha that people get is all about feedback and the gift of feedback.
Okay.
Leaders think like if I just tell you, that's it. But that telling is not feedback. Feedback comes from the fact that I care about you, that I want you to be successful, and you may not be aware of the behavior, right? But leaders, because they feel this time crunch, like I got to do this now, boom, I'm just going to blast it.
Yeah.
The other thing is what I hear quite a bit, and I'm like, could we retire this for sure? Is I'll get to that later. Like, I can't really show them how to do it right now because we're in a time crunch. Hello, that's our life. Time crunches all the time.
That's right.
So I always like to say you can pay now or you can pay later. And when you pay later, it's more expensive, even if it's on clearance. Because, like in retail, clearance is the bottom of the barrel unless you find that little thing. So why not take the moment now when you find out, oh, that didn't take as long as I thought it was going to take. So those are the two. I know you said one, but I had to give you two because
Okay.
it's
No, you can add all you want. That's so good. Yeah, I agree with that. And then I'll just tell you one of mine. One of the things that I hear everywhere I go is so and so won't change. You know, and I'm like, well, not if we take that stance, right? And that feeds right back into what you were saying about feedback, right? Well,
Yeah.
he won't change or she won't change if we don't give her feedback, if
Mhm.
we don't demonstrate we care and help to
Right,
guide them, right?
right.
So
Yeah,
they'll change in one of two ways. One, their behavior will change and they'll get it together, or two, they'll take enough of your feedback. They're like, I don't need this, and they'll leave. So change will
yeah.
happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you what prompted you saying what you said was when I was at Donnelly, after was doing the work with publishing, they promoted me to become part of this training team for sales and marketing. And they had a leadership development series, and we would each do, a portion of it
Yep.
so that they would get different facilitators. So they were prepping me for this next session. And, these people had been working there for years, like 20, 25 years. And they said, "Oh, you're getting Ed." I'm like, "Uh-huh, who's Ed?" And so they said, "Oh, well, Ed's a sales manager. He's all the way out on the island. Nobody really bothers him. He's got 3 direct reports. They get in, the good revenue, whatever. But Ed sleeps during the training." So the first thing that triggers in my head is, why is Ed still employed? I
Right.
mean, it's like, okay. They said, good luck with Ed. So
Uh-huh.
Ed arrives. This is up in New York, in Westchester County, at the corporate headquarters in Purchase, New York. Ed walks in. He's a very tall, lanky gentleman. He walks in and I go over and I shake his hand. I said, "Hi, you must be Ed." And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "Ed, I've heard some wonderful things about you." I said, "I can't wait to have you in the class." And then I watched. We were in a U shape and he was beelining all the way to the back of the room. I said, "Oh, no, no, Ed. First seat right here." So he sits down. It's 3 days of training. And I watch him. He starts to,
Not off.
I think, right. I think he's got sleep apnea, right? I
Right.
don't think that.
This could be
So
a
I go up,
condition.
right. I go up to him and I go, "Ed, what do you think about this?" And he goes, "Oh," and he starts communicating and he participated for 3 days.
What?
At the yes, at the end of the training, he comes up to me, he shakes my hand, he said, "Nancy, this was the best
Of
training I'd ever
course.
had." And I thought to myself, yeah, it's the first time you've been up for 3 days, but And then I earned quite the reputation because everyone was talking about how Ed had stayed awake. And I'm like, this. This is like, this is so elementary, is
That's
to
right.
care about the person, to watch what they're doing. Are they paying attention? Are they on their phones? What are they doing? And engage them in some way that keeps them alert. But yeah, when you were talking about like people can't change, sure they can. They
Absolutely.
can if you give them that the Midas touch, as we say, right? The Midas touch, so to speak.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and I mean, and you and I would be unemployable if we didn't think people could change. I mean, our whole goal is to develop people, which development equals
Exactly.
sign change, right? Okay,
That's
and we've
right.
been throwing this word OD around. So just for those
Yes.
of you listening, it's organization development what we're talking about.
Yes.
And then there's learning and development, there's human resources, and I know both of us, Nancy, we've played around in all of those positions and all those departments. What's one trend out there that you're really excited about, that you're thinking, "Oh my gosh, I hope this takes flight. I hope that people get their
Yeah.
heads wrapped around it."
So this is one of my biases, my pet peeves, which is that the kind of work that you and I do gets depicted as soft skills, which
Yes.
absolutely drives me nuts.
Oh, me too.
And right. And what I say to people is, no, I don't do soft skills. I do the necessary skills to complement the technical skills. And what I've seen recently in a shift is people are calling them power skills.
Ooh,
Our colleague, Sharon Delaney McLeod,
yes.
is one that I heard say it, and then I've seen it. And I even did some little research and said, like, what's another word for soft skills? And people are saying, yeah, now it's power skills. I'll take that. I don't have to have the long sentence that I had about the complementary to the, because it's not enough to intellectually know things. It's really about how you interact with others that are going to make or break the success of your organization.
Oh, that is
um,
100% correct. Yeah,
so
and
that's
go ahead.
the other one that I think of is, and I'm not sure about necessarily, is the impact of AI. on what we do,
Yeah.
which is a whole other topic, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I will tell you, here's what I have to say about AI. I'll just compliment what Nancy said. I hear a lot of people are concerned about it. They're worried about it. They're not sure what it's going to do. Da 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 da.
Mhm.
Here's what I really want everybody to do. Find a course. Find a YouTube video.
Mm.
Find something to go get vibrant and get a light bulb above your head. So, Nancy and I are both involved in this thing called the National Speakers Association, and we have a group of people that actually speak on AI, and they had a conference about AI. It was like a weekend long. So I'm like, I'm signing up for this thing because I don't know anything about AI.
Mhm.
So I signed up for it.
Mhm.
I was absolutely delighted with what I learned. And yes,
Mm.
people can use it as a crutch and this and that and the other thing, but I'm going to tell you, it's saving me a lot of time and energy, and it's amazing what I'm learning as I'm using it. It's a
Mhm.
teacher, is how I see
Yep.
it.
Nicely put. I think my concern around it is when I see, oh, you could have coaching with an AI
No, 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 you can't
coach.
do that.
Exactly. That's what drives me nuts,
Right, right,
right?
right.
So it's that balance, and I'm working on a new presentation about the human side of AI,
Nice.
um, and I don't have it all formulated yet because I'm learning as I
Of
go.
course.
But what I realize is like if I can understand that it's good for the things that you're saying, right? And I realize that the things that you and I do for a living are still important,
Yeah.
then it's the blending of that. And I think that, there's a lot of fear out there because, big corporations are saying they're going to cut their staff by 30% because the administrative side doesn't need. I will tell you, it doesn't matter how old I am, I don't like talking to a bot. I like talking to a human being.
Me too.
I like to get that feel, right? That energy, that sense of like you care about me. With a bot, you're basically sending me somewhere and I keep telling you that's not where I want to go. And so we have some frustrating moments
Yep, yep.
as
My
well.
husband will I will hear him all the way in his office, which Nancy is all the way across the other side of the house. He'll be like, "Human, I want to talk to a human."
Yeah, our husbands haven't met yet, but they ought to because that's a very similar
Yeah.
similar thing. I'm like, watch out, your blood pressure.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So, and there's always two sides to every coin. So there's positives to AI, there's
Yes,
negatives to AI, there's positives to bots, there's negatives to bots. There's nothing
absolutely.
new under the sun. All of that is the same. Yeah.
Are you ready to build your vibrant culture? Bring Nicole Greer to speak to your leadership team, conference, or organization to help them with their strategies, systems, and smarts to increase clarity, accountability, energy, and results. Your organization will get lit from within. Email her at nicole@vibrantculture.com and be sure to check out Nicole's TEDx talk at vibrantculture.com.
Okay, so I love that. The power skills. I think that is fantastic. Yeah, because you can teach somebody how to do a technical job, but you can't teach them how to teach somebody to do the technical job, right? They've got to have some communication skills, some emotional intelligence. That's good. All right.
Yeah.
So, one thing Nancy did for me that was so powerful is she helped me get certified in this instrument called the
Mhm.
disc. And
Mhm.
so I don't know if any of you have all heard of it. I bet some of you out there have, but you helped me get certified in that. So tell us the story of how DISC has changed a culture because you've helped me bring it into organizations. You've been using it a long time. Tell us about your
Mhm.
DISC story.
Yeah, so you got certified as a practitioner in the Everything Disc certification through Wiley because there are some, what are those
Knockoffs.
knockoffs? Thank you.
I don't know. Is that the right word?
And so we bring it into organizations as the baseline for like when they say, oh, we need leadership training or we need staff development.
Yep.
Well, we say, yeah, first thing you need is communication and we can do workplace and now catalyst, etc.
Hmm.
And what I see is using your light bulb, your vibrant moment, is that people just get into it because they're reading about themselves and there's no denying they answered the questions.
That's
Nobody
right.
else
You don't
answered them
like the
for
answers? You filled out the
them.
paper. You did it
I've
online.
had one person through the years that just like was adamant that this was not accurate. I said, well, did you fill it out or did somebody else fill it out? He said, I did. I said, well, he said, "Well, I think I wasn't thinking about it in the right way." And I said, "Well, if you'd like to take it again, just to," I said, "we'd be more than happy to,
Yeah, accommodate you, sure.
accommodate you in that way." And then he was like, "Oh no, that's okay," because he was just wanting for me to say, "Oh yeah, we make mistakes," but it is so tested and it is so validated, and it's ongoing. It's not like, oh well, it was validated 20 years ago, and keep going with it. So what I see, especially with technicians, manufacturing,
Mhm.
engineers,
Mhm.
financial people, it's not industry specific, is that all of a sudden they're like, oh, that's why I'm having a problem talking to Nicole, because she's all the way over there and I'm over here. And oh, wait a minute now, and it's like, so I have one client that I've had now for 15 years, and they're in self directed work teams. So for the first 90 days that somebody's employed there, they do all the technical, whatever those technical skills are that they need to make sure they're proficient in. And once they pass the technical piece, they then move into the interpersonal, what I call interpersonal. And I come in and I do what we call a DISC 1.0. Well, they got a new head of training, and that person is like gun ho on DISC. In
Yay.
fact, we're going to get him certified so that he can continue it, right? He wanted all of the teams, all the self directed work teams, which there are 20, to each go through an advance. So we now call it 2.0. And then we do different exercises. And these people are buzzing. Like
Yes.
if you give them a choice between facilitation skills and everything disc, they're like, I want everything disc. I want to learn more about myself. I want to learn more about the people in my team, and how can I talk to them where they'll hear me.
That's
And so that's been a real success story, right? And now the guy wants to take their culture reports of the various teams and then talk about them as cultures, each individually, and then how does that culture work or not work with another team that they have to work with. So it's really taking it to another level, which is exciting for me as well. It employs me, but besides that, it's something that I believe in a lot, and I'm certified. I've been certified in Myers-Briggs for a lot of years,
Yep.
and
Me.
I still love it as a tool, but I think it's more cumbersome than what our environments today are interested in. They want quick, get me at hello, or
Yeah.
you're not going to get me at all. So yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so good. And DISC is a personality assessment, just for those of you listening that were like, what are they talking about? So it's a personality assessment that was created by this Dr. Marston at Harvard
Yes.
University. A fun fact about Dr. Marston, he also invented the character Wonder Woman, and
Yes.
he was part of the first lie detector thing that was
Yes.
put together.
Yes.
So it's a pretty legit thing. And then
Yes.
Wiley, which if you look at the back of 17 books in your office, they're published by Wiley. It's really cool. And she mentioned this thing, Catalyst, which I just want to share real quick. That's the
Good.
success story I'm having. So I'm working with a company in Denver, North Carolina called Bloom, and they are slap happy about the disc. They love this thing. But I have this young man, his name is Lucas. It's manufacturing. He runs a team, and he loves having Catalyst because you have an app on your phone, and he can go in there and he can look at whoever he's going to talk to, because it
Yes.
puts everybody's disc in this one app. And
Hmm.
he is constantly using it and teaching people communication along the way as he's teaching people
Yes.
how to make door
Beautiful.
hinges and drawer slides. You know what I mean? And so
Right.
he just keeps rising up in leadership. And I'm telling you, it's
Mhm.
this disc is what got this kid
Yeah.
ignited about leadership.
Yeah. And I'll just say that, I live, breathe, and sleep disc, and they do have other products which you have inquired about and have been using, which is
Yes.
great.
Yes.
And for your listeners, I would offer a Vibrant discount for anybody that would be interested in getting certified with that.
Okay, that's fantastic. Yeah. And inside of my toolbox with DISC, I not only have that, but coming up, I'm going to be doing an executive team, and we're going to be doing the DISC that's called Work of Leaders.
Yeah. Oh,
And
excellent.
so it has
Excellent.
the disc in the background, but it also
Mhm.
talks about, how to cast a vision and all the things that are important to leadership. So there's not only that, but there's a sales application and emotional intelligence application. So lots of things that can get these power skills in your toolbox. And so Nancy has helped so many people by putting disc in
Yeah.
place. So I didn't want to miss
Yeah.
that. All
Thank
right.
you.
So, what's the biggest mistake leaders make when they know their style but they don't adjust to it? So, like you and
Mhm.
I have had somebody in the room and they've got a D, an I, an S, or a C personality. And the D stands for dominance, the I is influence, the S is stability, C is conscientious. But like their attitude isn't, I'm going to flex or I'm going to be curious. Their attitude is, this is the way I am, so everybody can deal with it. So what
Well, that's the mistake right there.
oh, okay.
I mean, truthfully, so here's an example.
Okay,
My
good story.
spouse is the CFO of the company,
Yeah,
and he is a high D dominance on the edge, so disc as we know it is a circle, and if you're on the edge, that means that you're very strong in that
your style.
particular
Yeah.
style. I am an I, very strong on the I, so I'm on the other side, and we go to have a conversation. So he comes in and he'll say, "You need to do da 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 da," right? About the business. And here's what I say to him: "This is
And
all I'm
she's
hearing."
moving her hand up and down like flapping his lips.
They're not seeing this. Yeah, like yeah, 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 yeah. All I'm hearing is barking. Would you like to say that differently to me? And then he'll step back. Well, look, we've known each other a long time.
Right.
He steps back. He comes back in. He said, "What I mean is, Nancy, we need to get this done, and it would be helpful if." I said, "Okay, you say it that way. I'm going to hear it because that sounds like we're collaborating. That sounds like you're not telling me what to do because guess what? I don't respond well to people telling me what to do. You can make a suggestion." And so I think, so I think that example, and the other thing is he's a night owl and I'm a morning person. So we just talk between 2 and 6 p.m. and we get a lot of things done. I'm telling you, how
Write
to
that
save this
down. That's a
marriage.
good tip. Figure out your what is it, your meridian something?
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly. But I do think that, the power of the assessment is how you interpret it and how you utilize it. And so if somebody isn't willing, then it's going to create a problem, and what
100%.
the ripple effect of that problem could be that the person says, "Look, I can't work with my boss, he she is just so defiant about this and doesn't listen to me. I don't feel heard. I don't feel like I'm cared for. I feel like I'm just here." And so then that starts the whole cycle that, the psychological cycle that people feel, which is, let me get out. I got to get out. This is not
Logical safety.
psychologically safety
Yeah.
right for me, right? And that's important to people. I will say that somebody asked me, I was on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he said to me, "Well, what's one of the things that you're most grateful for or happy about or feel good about?" And I said, is that the people that work with me, both the people that are on my team, the people that I pull in when I have projects that I know is their expertise, like I do with you,
Mhm.
that they've been with me a long time. That it's not, a door opening and closing and people say, "Okay, well, I did that one, done." And then the other is my clients, that for the most part, they're repeat and have been with me for a really long time. And so that's wonderful for me, right? And so I think that the things that I hear from people and people that have left the organization or say, "Hey, I don't want to partner with you anymore because I'm doing something else in my life," or "This is not structured enough for me." I'm like, okay. So three people in the last 25 years have left the organization. They were all high
Congratulations.
C's,
Right.
all high C's,
Because
right? And C
because
is
I is
conscientious,
across
right?
from C, everybody.
And it was because, and we have systems in place.
Of course you
It's
do.
just that every client,
It's different.
if there's an exception to the rule. And so it's the three people that left said, "I cannot handle the fact that there are that many exceptions to the rule." So Yeah, so we use DISC all the time. The whole team has taken it. We talk about it. We talk about what we need from the other person that would help us, in terms of that. And we constantly do a lot of debriefing. Are
Right.
we happy? What's going on? What could we do differently? What do you need from me? How do I need to communicate with you differently so that you get what you need, etc.
Yeah.
Which I think is important in organizations to do as well.
Yeah. 100%. And your people that walked out the door, that's when that person went dark.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can't keep little pockets of darkness rolling around your place or
Mhm.
it'll take over. So that's really
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Mhm.
So you asked me to partner. You just mentioned this. You asked me to partner
Yep.
with you on a strategic planning program for a client. And this
Mhm.
work is so essential, but I find that I'm not seeing, maybe it's me, I'm not seeing a
Mhm.
ton of people taking strategic planning so seriously. It's almost like it's the end of the year, it's time to redo the budget,
Mhm.
but there's really not a strategic plan, and there's a big difference there. So, what have you learned from clients in your own success as an entrepreneur? And she's got a book for folks on being an entrepreneur. So, mention that. What would you say about strategic planning? I think it's so needed. People don't even have these skills to look forward.
So I use the analogy a lot in the last 5 years in particular about the building of a house. Like if you think about when you go to build a house or when you go to look at a house that you're thinking about buying, the foundation is so critical. The foundation, whether it has a basement or not, because that's a big controversy here in North Carolina, is like, oh, what do you mean you don't have houses with basements? I'm grateful that I don't have to go down into a basement myself. But anyway, so to me, it's like the flooring, right? If it's not stable, if it's not strong, if it doesn't go throughout the entire house, right? And so that's what I think about when I think about strategic planning is like you have to have a plan. You're just not slapping things together, which is what a lot of people say. Oh, we have this need. We have a communication need. What's the communication need? Well, people aren't talking to each other. Let's talk more about that. What is that? And then the most successful clients that I've worked with is the ones that say, I want to create a plan. I want to create a 3 to 5 year
Yeah,
plan
yeah,
of,
yeah.
right? And so, what does that beginning look like? What do you want the leadership? Like you talked about doing an executives group next month. That's so critical because getting an executive group to say, hey, we need to learn about ourselves and figure it out and come up with our goals is so important. I would say to you that it's just a handful of our clients that want that. And we've brought you in a couple of times for that because I see that as something that you do really, really well. And it's something that I like, but I'd much rather have somebody who's in it all the time doing it. Whereas I was doing that more, let's say 10 years ago, working with clients.
Yeah.
I work a lot with the community college system through their customized training. That's a lot of what helped me get started when I started the business over 25 years ago. And we would have some clients, like some of the big ones that were coming into the area, into the Raleigh area, Wake County, that would say, we really want to create a plan. And I would be like, oh, yeah, this is great. Because,
Because you also have to slow down to go fast. The strategic plan is
exactly,
like the fuel in the tank.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. Also, I'm seeing, and you may or may not be seeing this as well, Nicole, is that there's a shift in who's now responsible for learning and development. There seems to be like the baby boomers are retiring, that the next group, some of them are saying, okay, I only have about 10 more years. Let's just, do whatever. And then you've got this new group of folks that are coming in that are probably in their late 20s, early 30s that are now all of a sudden being responsible and they don't really have a clue about the importance of strategic planning. So there's a whole education that needs to happen about that, I think. In reference to the book, I would say that that book was a long time in coming, and it's called 18 Common Mistakes Small Business Owners Make. And those are the things that I found that I learned over time. And how that program and also the book got started was through the Small Business Center at Wake Tech. They brought me into a room And they said, go into another room, come up with like 10 titles for the small business office that we could start to offer training. And so that was one of them. And they said, oh, we like that one. Well, it's actually called 10 Common Mistakes That Small Business Owners Make. And I offered it through, they had a free seminar series on Tuesday nights. Had like 100 people in there because it was free. And so that's where I started to realize that I love speaking and that I could use my humor by
Yes, of
relatable
course.
stories because it was my own experiences. And so when it was done, the first time I came back to them and I said, oh, there's more than 10, there's probably 100, but I really like the number 18. And they were like, whatever you want, it's go ahead and do that. And so 18 is a series that hasn't necessarily become, but like 18 common mistakes leaders make is one, 18 common mistakes presenters make, so there's a whole series that will eventually be in book form. But the 18 is in Hebrew, in the Jewish world, is means chai, chai, which means life.
Oh,
And
really?
so for me, yes, so for me, like I got married on the 18th of October. I give out donations in increments of $18. So it might be 18, 36, 54, 72. When kids graduate from high school in the neighborhood that I like, 72.
Get on our good side, kids.
I get on a good side, right? But all joking aside, so to me, it's really about life, right? Like, what's the life of the small business owner? What's the life of the leader? What's the life of the presenter? Like, one of them is really about knowing what you're good at, like taking an assessment, right, to find out what your strengths are. And, doing strength finders,
Oh, yeah.
doing the Wiley disc, whatever those things are, doing emotional intelligence and really understanding like where your strengths are. So, how I formed the business was I knew that I knew business, I knew that I knew numbers. But there are things that I don't know how to do, but I know that they're important, like graphic artists, directors of operations, business development people, etc. And so that's how I built the business. And I was building the business and writing the book at the same time. And it's not enough to know what your product or service is. What's really important is how do you manage the people that you're going to bring on board,
That's
whether
right.
they're part time
All
or full time.
people.
Yeah. So that's where that came from. The book and the reason for the 18 is because of that.
Oh, I love that so much. Well, we are already at the top of the hour, and me and Nancy, we could hang out, talk like till
I know we
9 o'clock
could.
tonight, ordering takeout, whatever. Yeah. Okay. So we've got a lot of folks that are in HR, OD, L&D, all the letters of the alphabet that are listening. Can you give us one piece of advice that we could put in our pocket? Like just do this and save yourself some years of frustration. What little piece of advice would you put in our pocket?
So I would say figure out what you're passionate about and pursue it, because doing what other people think you ought to do or what the focus ought to be is going to lead to a lot of frustration.
Hmm.
Was part of a panel of coaches. Most of them were ICF certified. I'm not at this point. But I would say to people, if you're going to become a coach, definitely get certified. Get certified in the things that you're passionate about. And so somebody was asking, well, what's the hottest topic? Like what should I be focused on as a coach? And this young woman, she stood up and she asked that question. And then when they got to me, I was number 5. I said, because they were all ICF certified, and then
Right.
there was me.
And there was the
Um,
token Nancy with an eye.
right, right. I said, find out what you're passionate about and pursue it.
Yeah.
Forget what's the hot topic, because then you're going to be chasing that all the way.
That's right.
So she sent me an email the next day and she thanked me because she
Yeah.
slept on it overnight. And she said, that was the most profound piece of information that I could take with me. I said, go for it. Because I think that whether it's from childhood or whether it's in our early adulthood, when we're first getting out in the business, we see somebody else and we say, oh, we got to be like them. No, you got to be you. Absolutely, you got to be you. And when you're passionate and you care about it, it comes through. It's like when I met you, Nicole, through NSA, and we were sitting at that table in Asheville for the
Hmm.
banquet. And I looked at you and I said, I want you to be on my board. And you said, "Oh, I don't know. I'm working on my master's degree." I said, "Fine. I'm not going to be the president for 2 years. Get your master's and let's go."
And I
I
did.
knew, and you did.
That's right.
And I knew that you were passionate about people, and that if we were going to grow the chapter, that I needed people that were brilliant in all the areas that they were brilliant in. And so when it was time, you came on board, and you were only there for the 1 year. And I was honored that you were there for the year and you grew that membership strong.
Yeah.
And those 33 people are still there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing. It's like when you hire the best and the brightest, do they stay or is it just a turnstop for them somewhere else? So
Yeah.
I'm grateful to you.
Oh, I'm grateful to you.
Yeah.
We've had fun together. Yeah. Okay. So if people want to get a hold of you, how do they find you? I'm sure people are like, I need Nanci in my life. I need her to come work with my team. How would they get a hold of you?
So it's pretty easy. You just go to aplsgroup.com and we have information about our services. And then there's a contact form that you could reach out. Another way is 919-424-6339. That is our company line. We've had it for 25 years. And then, of course, you can just find me on LinkedIn,
Do that.
which
That's
is
really smart.
right,
Do that.
Nanci with an I, Nanci Appleman Vassal, and then we can reach out that way. But I would be delighted to answer any questions that you have. If you are curious about some of the things that we've talked about, I'd be more than happy to support you. Just let me know that we met through Vibrant Cultures podcast.
Yeah, do that for
Yeah.
sure. Awesome. All right,
Mhm.
everybody. It has been another amazing episode of the Build a Vibrant Culture podcast. Nanci Appleman-Vassil with an I. I am so grateful that you've been on the show. Everybody, do us a favor, real quick. It just takes a second. Would you click the little like button on whatever platform you're listening to this on? And do us a favor, go down, make a comment. That would help us out a bunch. Just say, liked it, loved it, didn't like it. It doesn't matter. Just make a comment and then we'll reach out if you didn't like it, see what we can do to do better. But we're grateful for you for being a listener on the Build a Vibrant Culture podcast. Thank you so much, Nanci.
Thank you, Nicole. My pleasure.